remains united. And he gave a final warning. Anyone who violates the law in the manner such as we are setting about now will be met with the full force of the law. And immediately, the Department of State Services has given a warning that all ethnic groups who are offering opportunities for hate speeches and also misinforming the public will be arrested and be made to face the law. The Nigerian Guild of Editors also have put out a statement. They said journalists sacrifice for the Fourth Republic, many of them paying the supreme sacrifice, and therefore journalists are against hate speeches. I think this should be directed to his members. Where there are hate speeches, it should not be carried in the medium, because even the United Nations has declared hate speeches should not be accorded freedom of expression. Meanwhile, the Sun has also reported that some groups have harvested from the internet violent accident scene along an Akure road, which happened in March 2016. And they have presented this on social media, claiming that they are fallout of massacre coming from the witnesses. They have said that this should be ignored and the security agencies are after them. Kaduna State government has come to deny that, and Igbo leaders in Kaduna has also said that claim is a lie. So be careful what you see on the social media.
Well, that's right, Bayo. Thanks a lot. Of course, that story you just talked about now is also the lead for the Nigerian pilot. Now, let's say in all of this, you're going to have perhaps an avalanche of fake news, manipulated stories, manipulated photographs, the so-called photoshopping, and so on and so forth. And this calls for community leaders, you know, and other serious-minded opinion leaders, you know, to move in very quickly. Otherwise, people consume these materials that are being circulated, you know, claiming that they are scenes of massacre. And so there's no massacre going on anywhere in the country. All right, so let's return to the Nigerian pilot and check out the lead story. Fallout of Igbo quit notice, DSS tracks hate campaigners. Details of that story can be found on page 2. Now, also there on the front page below the photograph, says federal government shuts Apapa Road for 1 year, and Dangote flour mills to reconstruct highway with 4.34 billion. And I don't think the road has been shut yet. It's an MOU that was signed at the weekend.
Yes, MOU signed, and there's a proposal to reconstruct the road using concrete this time.
Absolutely.
To make sure that it can sustain the articulated vehicles that ply that road.
That road, yeah, but it's not been shut yet.
No,
otherwise there would have been provision with regard to alternative routes that they would take. Now, other headlines there on the foot of the front page of the Nigerian pilot. NIS graduates personnel for effective border security. NIS stands for the Immigration Service. Imported rice, poisonous, says Kebbi governor. That's on page 13. And on page 7, in greater detail, expose thieves in your midst. Oshibajo charges churches. And on page 11, detained Kaduna journalist regains freedom with horrible diary. And also on page 7 there, Edo State to relocate army barracks in the state. Listen.
All right, to the blueprints now. Quickly, the importation of the poisonous rice warning from Kebbi is the one leading for the blueprints this morning. Kebbi governor warns Nigerians we import poison, not rice. You see the details on page 6. Expose, ostracize corrupt members. Oshibajo tells church leaders with the writer will federal government to address causes of agitations. That story starts right there but continues on page 6. Still on the agitation and the quit notice being given. Quit notice, Mubi, safe for Ibu. Yoruba orders, the Emir is assuring. You find details on page 37. Restructuring 6 geopolitical zoning formula, panacea to agitation. We find that story trending on page 5. Editors condemn hate, divisive speeches, and urge tolerance. That's what we find on page 9. Beware of Kogi recruitment. NMA warns doctor. NMA is the Nigerian Medical Association. That story is trending on page 37. Why federal government will appeal Saraki's CCT acquittal presidency. All the details, page 38. Bayo.
Yes. Did you say Happy Father's Day to your husband yesterday? Kingsley, how many of your children?
No, I did for my father. I asked my children to say to their father.
How many of your children said Happy Father's Day?
All of them. I mean, they all, including, of course, their mom, who is my wife.
Okay,
so,
good.
I can't possibly show you the photographs.
Very many fathers miss the occasion of Father's Day because Quite unlike Mother's Day that is usually celebrated worldwide. Father's Day came yesterday, and the acting president used the occasion to also send a very strong message. And he says, the church leaders must begin to talk more on honesty rather than emphasizing on giving. Church leaders must be ready to confront members who live above their means. He was speaking about this year's Father's Day, and he says he admitted that it was a difficult role for the church to play, but it is not meant to teach on how to be wealthy, but they should be taught about how to be Christ-like. Well, he was speaking in context at the Aso Villa, where they were having mass to remember the Father's Day. And I think because it was in context, it also applies whether you worship at the mosque, at the shrine, or for that matter, at the synagogue.
Yes, right.
You have to make sure that the people who worship there are emphasized to stress on honesty rather than how they get their means. His sermon, the prelate of the Methodist Church, Dr. Samuel Uche, said there's the greed among persons who are in high positions and they tend to take things for themselves. The title of his speech was, Fathers, Rescue Our Beloved Nation.
All right, Bayo, that's a very timely admonition there by the acting president. Of course, some of the stories that we read every day will tend to indicate that there's indeed failure, of members, whether in their place of worship, as you have indicated, to learn the proper moral lessons. Let's go and take some headlines from the front page of the Punch newspaper. Punch, we go to the the bottom half of the Punch to take some headlines that we are seeing there. Now, you see the headline there, Evans, that's the kidnap kingpin, leads police to 2 detention camps in Lagos. Then you have another one there, 6 suspected highway kidnappers arrested in Kaduna, and the Takwe Ajakuta rail line ready in December. That's according to Fayemi, who is Minister of Steel. And Kogi recruits new doctors and to sack striking workers. And southern leaders demand withdrawal of anti-Igbo threat. And Kung Fu kicks. Nigerians demand prosecution of Chinese who crippled worker. Kung Fu kicks. Kung Fu is martial arts, by the way.
By the Chinese martial arts.
Nigerians demand prosecution of Chinese who crippled worker. Details of the story can be found inside. Now, Biafran agitators and Arawa youth will fail full force of our law, again attributed to acting President Yemi Osinbajo.
Yes,
very quickly.
Yes, quickly. 6 persons have been arrested. They are suspected to be kidnappers, and they were picked up at Mararaba Jos, Ungwampama, Sabungaya, and the notorious Rijana village along the Kaduna-Abuja expressway, where many people have been kidnapped. Colonel Yakubu Yusuf, who is the coordinator of Operation Yaki, says they achieved defeat while working with the Inspector General of Police, Intelligence Response Team, as well as the Technical Intelligence Unit. And the same thing is happening in the forest around Benin Kebbi. Unfortunately, over the weekend, students and their lecturer were also kidnapped along that road.
That's right. All right, but that's incidentally one of the topics that we are taking for our discussion segment, this morning. There are new strategies, of course, by the security agencies, and those strategies are already yielding results. But what more is required to be done? We have guests, of course, with us here in the studios, as well as at a remote location.
And also, it should be emphasized, yeah. Evans, who has been arrested, the kingpin, he has already sent a message. The youth there, crime does not pay. He's already telling them that he enjoyed the wealth, but now he is full of regret for his adventures and misdemeanors.
Every day for the thief?
One day for the other.
Baya Chebe, thank you for being with us today. See you again tomorrow.
Thank you for having me, as always.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of Africa's largest television network, the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll get into our discussion segment.
The Future Assured project of the wife of the president, Aisha Muhammad Buhari, is carrying out free medical screening and distribution of food items at various IDP camps while ensuring the economic empowerment of women through training and skill acquisition. In recognition of her efforts, wives of governors have lent their voices and support.
In Kogi State, we feel the impact of Future Assured, especially in women and children.
The Future Assured program of Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, the wife of the president, has been very assuring and still reassuring in Sokoto State. It has impacted positively in the areas of humanity, especially women and children.
Supports the Future Assured initiative. Email programs@futureassured.org.ng. Future Assured, promoting and protecting the lives of Nigerian women and children.
Here's your order.
I think this is not exactly what we ordered. I ordered a Coca-Cola Zero.
No problem. I can give you 0 calories, 0 sugar, and a great Coca-Cola taste. Here's the Coca-Cola Zero you ordered. Do it again. You still look like you need a Coca-Cola. Why don't you sneak inside your bag? Wherever you feel, together be real, together enjoy.
The program is Good Morning Nigeria. Now to the first part of our discussion this morning, we're taking a look at kidnapping cases in Nigeria. Although not peculiar to Nigeria, the rising spate of kidnapping is said to have become a source of national embarrassment, as cases are not just becoming too many, but the criminals are even getting more daring. Let's find more details with this background report from Timothy Yusuf.
For 7 years, suspected daredevil kidnapper Chukwudi Onwamadike, also known as Evans, reigned, terrorizing the high and the low in society. But his reign of terror came to an end Saturday, June 10, after a police special squad arrested him at his palatial home in Magodo area of Lagos State after a fierce gun battle. According to the police, Evans was first declared wanted in August 2013 when he masterminded the attempted kidnap of Chief Vincent Obianudo, the owner of Young Shall Grow Motors in Festac, Lagos.
And I make bold to show to you, outside the arms and ammunition we are parading, this is what was fashioned out by Evans and his group to chain the victim so that they can restrict them from escaping anytime anybody escapes.
The whereabouts of 6 senior secondary school students abducted at the Lagos Model College Igbonla Ekpe for more than 1 week now has also remained a source of concern to many. 3 members of the gang are reported to have been arrested by operatives of the Inspector General of Police Intelligence Response Team. Investigation reveals that last year alone, the country witnessed more than 5 high-profile kidnapping cases. With what many described as a huge success for the Nigeria Police Force, following the arrest of Evans, the question remains whether the force will build on this success and continue to prevent kidnap cases and criminality generally in the country and ensure prompt detection of those crimes that cannot be prevented, and also ensure that perpetrators are arrested, investigated and prosecuted. This is the outlook of Good Morning Nigeria, as experts are set to x-ray the issue shortly.
Thank you very much there, Timothy Yusuf, for that background report. Now, of course, we have been joined by guests. First, by the first Public Relations Officer, Mr. Chief General of Police, Jimon Moshood. CSP Moshood, a pleasure to have you join us on the program.
It's my pleasure being here.
Okay. And also joining us from our Jos Network studios is a familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria. Of course, we all know him. He's a professor at the University of Jos, professor of criminology. That's Professor Etanibi Alameka. Prof, I'd like to have you join us again on the program today. Okay. All right. Let's begin a conversation with CSP Jimon Moshood. the police, obviously, and indeed many Nigerians have been excited following the arrest a little over a week ago of the gentleman known as Evans, alias Evans. As I said, his other names are a tongue twister. Exactly how significant is the arrest of Evans, who's been variously described as the kings of kidnapping?
Thank you so much. I want to start by saying there's nothing gentle about Evans. Evans is Chuku Dume Me Onu Madike. You know, he has been on wanted list for quite some time now. And I want to say, like when I was doing the parade in Lagos, I let the media know that this is the beginning of an end to kidnappings throughout the country. Because, you know, we have become more sophisticated in our approach. And we have used detection of crime because, you know, we put in crime prevention and control strategies which are working. But where those crimes that cannot be prevented, prompt detection, assisted loss, and that's what we are doing. You know, detecting crime, resolution to issue of crime, 90% to issue of crime lies at the scene of crime. And we're engaging the public, and public are becoming more and more aware of preservation of crime scene. Because where you see somebody being kidnapped or being taken away, there should be a lead at the scene of crime. But we're in a country where, because of the way we are as an African, if somebody is killed, for example, before you even get to the body, people are really rolling on the body and say, this is my uncle, this is my parent, this. So we are doing diligent investigation, detection to ensure that we get to the root of it. It's significant in the sense that, you know, we rounded up a vampire group and we ended the reign of vampire in the southwest. We equally arrested those who kidnapped the former ambassador, Ambassador Bakudu Isewu's former Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. And equally, you know, the Deputy High Commissioner of Sierra Leone to Nigeria was equally kidnapped, was rescued, and we arrested all the suspects. Quite a number. Even this afternoon, we are going to parade those suspects that are responsible for the kidnap of His Excellency, the Governor of Kogi State's mother, before he became Governor of Kogi State. We've rounded that up. This to say that we are more sophisticated. We are building in on a lot of detection that we have done in the past to be able to round up. You know, the history of kidnapping in Nigeria, if you go memory lane, start from the south during the agitation, and people who are holding the victims for them at that point in time who live in forest now decide, no, we can do this on our own. So they get spread across the country. So the Inspector General of Police, IGP Ibrahim Puto Idris MP MNI, when he came on board, introduced a lot of things that we must do things differently from what we are doing before. You know, Evans have been looked for previously for more than 7 years. And within this space of 7 years, you have more than 5 to 6 Inspector General of Police have been there. So we have to do things differently, and that's what the IGP is saying, and we are doing it differently, and it's yielding results. Not only excitement, people have been commending the IG, they've been commending all the personnel, all the force, and we'll build on these successes to ensure that we rein in all the remaining kidnappers. And no doubt on Kaduna Abuja Road, like a part of your news earlier, we've arrested 8 suspects now that were responsible for coming out to kidnap people. The sensibility of Nigerians come into question because Nigerians need to know that we don't work like a spirit. You have to provide information for us. Because in case of Kaduna Abuja Road, you know, throughout the issue of diversion of traffic from Abuja to Kaduna, there was no single incident or even robbery on that road. We are fully present on the road. But people capitalize on the distance between the patrol team and the observation point that we created and come in, and we saw that it's the community along the road, because if you travel through Kaduna, you see a lot of community along the road, especially around Rechana. Where people that we have arrested are 2 indigenous of Rechana that spy on the road, inform their kidnaps gang, and they come and attack people. So they've been rounded up equally, and they will equally be paraded today. Okay,
CSP Jim Mashud, of course, a correspondent actually went on that road, but we'll get to see that in course. But let's take a look at the mind of the kidnapper or these abductors, really what goes on before they actually get into this and making that, before they unleash the mayhem on the society. That's why our question is going to Professor Alemika in Jos. Prof, good morning once again. Yes, society's law and breakdown is what is giving us this situation today, because it's not as if there were no instances of kidnapping in the time past. But how much have we done to actually let this to fester over time? There are laws already, at least as to punish some of these areas of perpetration. Why have we found ourselves in this situation today?
I think in discussing kidnapping, we should not take it in isolation. I think in the country, different industries have emerged, and unfortunately, there are organized criminal industries that at different times try to generate money for the perpetrators. At some point, it's drug trafficking. At another time, it is human trafficking, sometimes arms smuggling, and of course we have kidnapping. So we have a variety of industries, the criminal industries that people engage in. And I think the fundamental question and explanation is, why is this so? My take is that we have come to value money above human life. We have come to value auspicious living above anything else. And these two areas have been more or less financed through corruption, through crime. And so we shouldn't be surprised when we have this kind of crime in our society. They simply respond to the kind of erosion of value associated with hard work, integrity, correspondence between work and wealth. Once we disconnected, relation between work and wealth, and anybody can get rich overnight, of course, you should expect that people will adopt various measures. So for kidnapping, it's not unexpected. I just quickly look at some of the statistics we had earlier. I don't have the current one. Jimo will probably have better. In 2006, 372 were recorded by the police. In 2007, 277 recorded. In 2008, 309 recorded. In 2009, 690 recorded. In 2010, 579 recorded. In 2011, 441. And in 6 months of January to June 2012, 285 recorded. And more recent, at least report in the media, will show that this trend had increased. I think the police are trying to do their best, but we must see that the police can only treat symptoms. We must go back to where the solution lies, our value system, and our ability also to curtail people who develop contra values that we cherish in society. The acting president yesterday made an important statement when talking to the religious leaders. Kidnappers tell you they pay prayer warriors, they pray imam to be successful. That tells you the level to which we have degenerated. So I think we need a comprehensive approach. We need a lot of strategy to combat not just these kidnapping, because people who are kidnappers now, if you track them down, they are likely to move into another industry. And we must take this comprehensive approach to national security, especially crime control. And I think that is what we need to do. Police have improved, and we must give credit to the police, both the current IG, but I think ultimately intelligence is very important. And I think to praise the police, I think in the last 6-7 years, there have been a massive development in the intelligence gathering capability of the police. I think starting from the tenure of IG MD Abubakar, when Solo Arase was at the first FIB2, I think gradually we have improved up to the present time. And I think a few, some of the changes that were done with the present IG are beginning to use those technology in a very creative way. But they are symptoms, and we must go to the grassroots, to the roots of those evil and be able to deal with them.
So, Alemika, just before we return to CSP Jimo Moshood, who is First Public Relations Officer, there's a point I would like you to also address. Namely, I mean, it is clear from the various accounts that we get to read that this is organized crime, and as you have indicated, you have all kinds of criminal industries at some point, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and armed robbery, and as we have seen in the past decade or more, it's been kidnapping. Now, Evans is already in the net, and if it's an organized crime, does the arrest of Evans and the taking down of Vampire necessarily mean that perhaps, this is the end of the road for kidnapping? If it is organized crime, there will be an organogram.
In criminology, we no longer talk of organized crime in the context of the old mafia style, in which you have a hierarchy and you have a controller, you have subordinates. What we have now globally, and especially in Nigeria, is what we call a loose network, in which people engage in project, and after the project, they disband, and there is no permanent structure. That is why it's often very difficult to deal with those kind of systems. So what we have is a network, and Evans is just one of the nodes of the network. There are other nodes, and until you can deal with the other nodes simply close, and the new flow in the network continues. So it's a major problem, and that's why I said intelligence is very important. And then, of course, community need to participate, and then, of course, you need government also to do a number of things. Why do we have this? At the bottom of this is the inequality that is in society. And unfortunately, that inequality, as I said earlier, emerged not because people have worked hard and earned what they have. It emerged as a result of corruption and criminality. So everybody now looks towards corruption. They look towards the other form of organized crime called politics in Nigeria. And then as a means of getting rich, nobody looks towards industry, the traditional industry of manufacturing, as a way of getting rich in Nigeria anymore. So we must deal with inequality that tend to attract people to get rich quickly. And of course, the fact that our regulatory agencies are unable, again, also to deal with those kind of malpractices in the private corporate system, not just in the public system. Until we go to the roots, we will be dealing with the symptoms. The symptoms are very therapeutic. I'm not underrating it. They are very therapeutic. But we need to go to the root. That's only when we have long and lasting solution.
Okay, well, Professor Alemika, thank you very much. Again, we'll return to you later on in the course of the conversation. CSP Jimoh Moshood, you listened to the comments by Professor Alemika. Well, I mean, his view is that this is not necessarily the classic organized crime as we used to know it. And if you had a mafia commission, for instance, of 5 families in New York, we do not know whether you have such a commission, with regard to kidnappers. Now, but if it is a loose network, such as he says, which means that you are dealing with disparate groups. I'm not sure what the connection was between Vampire or Sisikanku, who was taken down much earlier, and say Evans. Evans is moved from different locations here and there. But what do the successes that you have gained, in recent times, what do they point to? Are you decimating the loose networks, or there's something else that is still left to be tackled? It's part of public support for whatever the police, is recorded in terms of taking on the kidnappers.
Thank you so much. From the analysis of the Prof, you agree with me that a lot of people want to assess and say, no, this is unorganized. It is not. Because they work individual groups. And actually, there's tendency that they know each other. The group may know each other who do certain things, but they don't work in network. And that's true. A little fear of the public, especially Nigerians, to know that we're doing our best. We're taking them down gradually. As they come, we'll take them down. And the intelligent network of the police are greatly improved. And this is due to people's engagement. We are engaging the public because that is the key thing. Engage the public and let the public know that we are in this together and provide information. Because if you see part of the report you brought out was when I show the leg chain, locally fabricated leg chain that was fashioned out to rescue people from gaining their freedom when they keep them in captivity. That thing was fabricated by Weather and not by Evans. And so when people come up with suspicion, because let me let you know that, when you trace down the history of Nigerian police to even period before independence, we make a lot of successes. The Agbekoya riot in what they call it, mayhem rather, because it's far, far beyond the riot. It was a policewoman that at the end of the day was instrumental to the arrest of Tafakara. And if you still go down, the first highway robber in Nigeria, the Oyenusi, it was equally a policewoman that eventually got him arrested. And even the Dinka that was the arrowhead of the coup in 76, it was a police corporal that got him arrested in Edo. And the CPA will have to
no. Was he arrested in Edo in Calabar?
No, sorry. Yes. So it was a police corporal that did the arrest. That to tell you how what they call the police have been working to ensure that the nation sustained security.
So what other measures would the community be putting in? That's what
I'm saying. When people are taken to the forest, I make an assertion before we start during the beginning of the program that people that are kidnapping people and taking them into the forest for people to keep. Those people that are keeping the victim have become kidnappers themselves, and we are rounding them up. Like the Kaduna-Abuja highway, the set of kidnappers that we have arrested, there are 2 gangs now. We've busted one. We've arrested all the other were on them, and we have arrested some member of the gang. That's to tell you that it's not issue of creating an organized setup. These people work individually, and we'll be having success in getting them down. So I will continue to do this. Before you probably push in another question to me, by tomorrow, those who are responsible for the Turkish school, children kidnapped have been taken to court, because we want to equally, like part of what the Prof said is that the people should not celebrate ill-gotten wealth. But we want to emphasize more on coverage of prosecution of these suspects.
Okay, CSP Jimo, that's another level we want to get to once we're done with this aspect of the Abuja-Kaduna road, issue of schools and students being kidnapped. Well, succession of crimes, especially kidnapping on the Abuja-Kaduna highway in recent times, also compelled the Inspector General of Police to deploy about 600 officers on the road to counter the excessiveness of the criminals. Our correspondent, Kule Adeyeye, was on that stretch of the road. Let's find out what he brought back.
As a commercial driver, Musa Abbas says he has been plying the Abuja-Kaduna road for the past 7 years. We met him as he was preparing to leave Abuja on another trip to Kaduna and told us this story. The bullet hole on Musa's vehicle is a reminder of the nasty experience.
Between Kakao, that under that bridge. So it's me and one guy, the guy who used to drive bus. So I follow him for back. Immediately we reach under the bridge. So now so Joe has shooting. They even shooting me for leg.
This is why Musa says he has cause to heave a sigh of relief at the increased presence of security personnel on the road.
I want the security to remain on the road. So they should leave them like after Salah.
We move along Abuja-Kaduna road to ascertain the situation for ourselves. From Madala to Jere, which is a distance of about 60 kilometers, we came across several police teams keeping an eye on the road. Though there has always been some police presence on the road, the number of policemen seems to have increased visibly. At Jere Motor Park, motorists plying the road, including officials of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, corroborated this. They, however, appeal for constant patrol of isolated areas.
As in, I've been plying the road this while, it has been peaceful. There's no any problem of kidnapping again or armed robbery.
And the police who have been coming here, the thing is so very nice. There's no any problem there. When the security came here, everything should be going normal now.
The presence of the security personnel on the roads, I can say it is bringing more security, that is making us more safer than before.
The security is very good. They are doing well for Jere people. So anything what they happen about kidnapping, they are not within Jere. We want to tell the government to please tell the security to search within bush and this thing. So these people, they are not away on the road. So they are keeping security on the road. So they have to be telling them to inside.
Residents and motorists along Abuja-Kaduna highway are optimistic that regular patrol and surveillance of the road will keep kidnappers and other criminals in check.
All right, thank you very much there, Adeyeye, for that report. CSP Jimo Mashood, of course, you listened to that background report by a correspondent, including the responses by the interviewees. We saw what happened when the Abuja airport was relocated temporarily in terms of takeoff and landing of flights to Kaduna. The road was safe, and then all of a sudden there was a rollback. Now, Abuja-Kaduna or Kaduna-Abuja, then Abuja to Lokoja, Lokoja-Okene, and one of the worst stretches you can think of would be Okene, Auchi, and then on to Benin. So exactly what is happening in terms of the police getting on top of the situation, because this stretches of is a major arterial roads from south to north and north to south, nightmare for travelers.
Thank you so much. You know, before issue of diversion of flight from Abuja to Kaduna, last year the Inspector General of Police, when he came on board, he launched Operation Maximum Safety on Kaduna-Abuja Road, on which donated some vehicles, Excellency, donated some vehicles to the police, which have been manned and have been put into use.
A lot of people find it
Mr. Chukuma? Yes, that's you're in call. You're on course.
If I may continue, because there's problem hearing you from this end. I was saying that inequality, particularly under this republic, has a problem reconciling their situation in an environment of increasing wealth, increasing income in the country, and yet majority of the people can hardly make ends at the end of the day. The activities of politicians, beginning in the Niger Delta, where we all know these things sprang up, and the widening geography of the operations now suggests that the phenomenon is on the increase. But in terms of what we could do, there's a lot. At the personal level, individuals have to live low. I mean, the level of ostentation that we see in our society meets wants by the plenty gives people a lot of ideas. So beginning with our household staffs, we need to make sure that people we engage to work for us are people that come from backgrounds that are checked. We need to avoid routines because if you are targeted, your routines are the very things that kidnappers look out for. People need to live a simpler lifestyle. And also the amount of to get to the bottom of their matter. Police also has to make use of the technology that under Solomon Arase's administration, they acquire the tracking devices that they have to make better use of it. They have to work closely with the telecom companies to activities, because policing in this century is not to be left alone to the regular law enforcement agencies. Private sector need to come in.
All right, Mr. Innocent Chukuma, thank you very much. We hope we're able to connect to you again before we conclude this first segment of our conversation. Now, just to go back to Jos, Professor Etanibi Alemika, one point, of course, dealing with the root causes, changing our values and having reorientation, as it were, there are useful points that you have articulated. But again, let us also examine how the ecology of kidnapping and other forms of crime have tended to fester in the environment. Now, CSP Jimoh Moshood here made a point. He said, look, the leg irons that were used normally to restrain the kidnapped victims were obviously fabricated by welders who asked no questions whatsoever. I mean, if a private person came to you and said they want to fabricate, you should ordinarily ask questions. Now, what about the financial institutions?
For financial institution, you have NFIU. I don't know how much penalty they get for not reporting lodgement, and how much NFIU itself also try to follow up those. So for financial institutions, there are some kind of regulatory authority in terms of NFIU to track lodgements in banks, but how much we use those information will be a major problem, a major challenge. And I think, like I said, we need to bring a number of agencies together in terms of database. They need to collect information that are relevant for security, that are relevant for safety, and then, of course, we must find a way of centralizing those information that they use when have intervehicular communication. This is the direction we must move in the long run, and that is why we need to get back to the drawing table of what we really want. I also need to warn, as we also focus on kidnapping, as I said earlier, crime is an industry, and criminals will move to where there is less risk and there is greater opportunity. Focusing on kidnapping now without also taking a good look at the other crimes will mean that when we have success in kidnapping, people will move into other areas that so far are not receiving the attention. So we need to, to be conscious of what criminology calls crime displacement, which happens either in terms of changes in types of crimes or it changes in terms of location of crime. I envisage that with the hit on Kaduna Road, I won't be surprised if the people move to Jos Road, or if they move to another segment of the roads that are not heavily patrolled. These are the comprehensive effort that I think need to be undertaken by all arms of government, by the communities.
Okay, Professor Alebika, thank you very much. We'll come back to you, but we have a number of reactions already by way of tweets that have come in. We'll take those tweets now, Blessing, and then, of course, we'll get back to our guests. If we still have, St. Chukuma on Skype, then, of course, we pop our question to him. Ibeabuchi tweets. This is Ibeabuchi 1234, that's the handle. It says, yes, the guy deserves, that's what they call it, the guy deserves to die to serve as deterrence to other would-be offenders. However, there are public funds kidnappers in government.
From Daily Jack Solomon, we have this tweet. My moderators, we need to create awareness on dangers of kidnapping, punish defaulters, improve national security, parental care, and guidance.
And this is from Victor Ohio Swoma. He said, we should all be security conscious and know our neighbors. Security agencies should acquire forensic technology to tackle the kidnappers.
Sunny Michael Omakoji has the street. To discourage kidnapping, we should also slash down the salaries and allowances of politicians to control their stupendous wealth.
Sylvester tweets, kidnapping has become a national anthem, a way of survival for the desperate and mindless people in society. I think a life in jail is okay.
From Michael, I am nipping crimes and criminality in the bud.
And Dominic Oga tweets, Prof, that's Professor Lemika, do you think community policing will help in reducing kidnapping and bring about better policing? The police need more power, need more manpower anyway.
Wilson Godwin says stiffer and stringent laws should be adopted and Nigerians should be willing to be secured by opening themselves for security agencies.
Now we have this from Alexin Solution. Kidnapping will end if death sentence is signed into law and executed for anyone found guilty of kidnapping. The Nigerian police, they are trying. Some states have kidnapping as a capital offense. It's not a federal offense, by the way. I think these are state offenses. And then, of course, some states also go ahead to demolish whatever property has been acquired by any kidnapper who's been arrested. Of course, although some persons argue that that poses a problem of restorative justice. But CSP Jimoh Moshood, one thing that some persons find a bit worrisome. Listening to the confessions, published confessions by Evans, he described the way they normally would abduct their victim. They are in a vehicle, of course, they trail the victim. They are all armed. And the video that was circulated a couple of weeks ago about the bank robbery at the bank at Owerri, I mean, showed persons who came, who trailed a bank customer and came out of their vehicles and started blazing. The question people are asking, one of the questions people are asking is as follows. How come people can move about in town, as it were, with arms and they are undetected by the security agencies?
Thank you so much. Like what the Prof said, visibility policing is very, very important. Like we are improving on that to ensure that we gather intelligence before the bye-bye strike. But like I said, a lot of preventive measures are put in place where those preventive where we still have those that cannot be prevented, we go into detection and we get them apprehended. Like case of the emo that you mentioned, all the suspected people were arrested and they are currently being prosecuted in the matter. And that's to go to show that technology can hit a lot. The CCTV were working, and not across the world. You see people that even build houses, put CCTV camera on it so that you'll be able to monitor what goes on within your vicinity. But we are doing our best. We've been parading hurry of weapons have been recovered. Like just on Friday, I paraded more than 20 weapons that were recovered by the police in our preventives or crime prevention strategy that we've adopted. But this is coming to Nigeria through the borders. Those associated firearms. And on one of your programs, you talk about the proliferation of firearms, small and light weapon. We are working in synergy with other security agencies because it doesn't become obvious at the level of those weapons coming in. And we don't have responsibility as regards the border of the country. But it becomes obvious when people started using those weapons. And that is why the synergy we have formed now with the Nigerian Police Force and the other security agency that's responsible for the border are very, very active and it's working. And that is why you see recovery have been made. So But by and large, we want people to know that they needed to be giving us information as they've been doing. Most of these successes are due to the information, prompt information provided by people, and that's why the Inspector General Police said I should take time off this program and thank all Nigerians for the cooperation they've been giving to the police, especially deploying their locality. We have the wider spread, even at the village level. You have police posts, police station located there, and we are working with the people. So we are getting this in mopped up. And we are achieving results. But when you have one or two instances, like you have said, like it's even funny to say a kidnapper will say it's going on patrol, because with vice instances where we have to start arresting them at the point of planning to attack. And those are the groups that go in with weapons. So there are a lot that we are doing, and there are a lot we have achieved in apprehending them before they strike. And in that level, we still prosecute that, because even attempt is an offense under the law. So we are doing a lot in that regard, and we're having successes.
All right, thank you very much, CSP Jima Moshood. We'll have loved to still talk about the school children and our kidnapping, maybe an update on that, but I'm sure we'll find time to actually look into this quickly some other time. Okay, still on Skype, Mr. Innocent Chukwuma. Yes, we must go now. Already we've talked about the frustration and anger amongst the people to ostentations leaving by the political class, elite class and some other persons in the society. What more do we need to do in achieving that total security for everyone present? People have canvassed for community policing. How will this help? Okay, I'm afraid the connection with Mr. Chukwuma has gone off. Professor it's Anibi Alemika, there was a tweet relating to you about the issue of community policing. What other measures can we achieve in terms of security? Briefly, too, sir.
Thank you. Well, community policing is a good idea, but I think it's grossly misunderstood in Nigeria, and it is not a once and for all or eternity program. In many countries where it has been practiced, like in the US, you find a lot of changes have taken place, and the popularity of community policing, as was even crafted in that country, had changed dramatically. So I don't want us to be fixated about an idea that this is something that solves a problem forever. I think what is important is a constant analysis of threat, represented by crime, using evidence, and then devising appropriate measure to tackle it. Of course, you cannot police without the consent, without the participation, and without the support of the community. That is central to any kind of policing. But I think we need that for intelligence gathering, for support, in many areas. But I think also we do need to stress that, as Innocent has mentioned, we need to make sure that there is a correspondence between work and wealth. We must do that. Without that, we will be actually motivating people to take out crime as a means of acquiring wealth. That is established in criminological theory, that people will innovate, and by that innovation, they simply want to present themselves as successful using means that are not approved by society. That is what is happening in Nigeria, and we need to look at this very critically. We've talked about inequality. The inequality is so wide, and what is worrisome about it is that the inequality is not created by economic productivity. It's created by corruption. Corruption, I will mention it 3 times. That's what is creating that wide inequality. We must deal with corruption in Nigeria and make sure there is a correspondence between wealth and work. Of course, many institutions have roles to play. We need, as traditional institutions, religious institutions, community association, of course, the judiciary, the legislature, all of these organizations must come together to solve the problem. Otherwise, it will consume every one of us. Let us not also make a mistake that only Evans type are involved in kidnapping. There are various groups involved with different backgrounds. Those ones that operate in Kogi alone, there are 2 groups. Those that are based in the city, like Okene, Lokoja, Ankpa, and Kaba, and the rest of them, and those that are just on the highway, which are linked with some kind of, the Fulani herdsmen. We must also have strategy to address the various types of kidnappers. They are not just one type. And I think these are the things that the law enforcement agency must go to their drawing board and do a lot of work. Let me just, round up this segment by commending Jimoh. I think he's given the police a good image during his short tenure there. And I do hope that, this will be done with a lot of increasing evidence of what police is doing, and of course what it needs to do that it cannot do, and then seek public support for those areas of gap, and then of course ensure that officers on the way behave better. I'm worried that there is a lot of begging that has returned to the highway in the various, among the groups that have been brought in for visible policing.
Professor Etanebi Elemika speaking to us from our Jos Network Studios. Of course, he's a professor at the University of Jos. Always a delight having you on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you for your insights. We also would like to thank Innocent Chukuma. We already lost him via Skype, but of course you heard him a moment ago when he responded to a couple of our questions. Innocent Chukuma, Regional Coordinator, Ford Foundation, also a criminologist himself. We appreciate your being with us this morning. And just before we sign off, CSP Jimoh Moshood, just very briefly, what is the status of the pupils who were kidnapped at the Lagos Model College in Ekpe? Thank
you so much. Before I go into that, I want to quickly thank Prof from Jos for the appreciation to the Nigerian Police Force and to my office. Thank you so much, Prof. Like I said earlier on, the suspect arrested in respect of the Turkish school children are going to court today. I will give it a massive media coverage for people to know that kidnapping doesn't pay. There's always an end result. Police will always apprehend you and prosecute you. In the case of school children in Igbonla, we are doing all the best, and for the purpose of ensuring their safety. I won't be able to tell you this is the stage we are, but we want to assure parents we know that their pain, to share in their pain, we know the anguish and the emotions, and the issue of not having your children back in a week or two. But the Nigerian Police Force, the Inspector General Police, IGP Bank, put to Idris and PMNA is concerned, and we are putting everything in place to ensure that the way we have success in every case, we are going to have success in their case. Because we have suspects in custody already, and very, very soon the children will be reunited with their family. All
right, First Public Relations Officer, CSP Jimoh Moshood, thank you for being on Good Morning Nigeria today.
It's my pleasure, thank you.
It's Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll be dealing with the silver anniversary, that's silver jubilee of the National Defense College here in Abuja.
Mission forms for the 2017-2018 academic session of NTA Television College Jos into its diploma programs are now on sale. The diploma programs are in film and TV production, broadcast journalism, and TV engineering technology. Applicants are required to have at least 5 credits, including English language and mathematics at SSC, NECO, or GCO levels in not more than 1 sitting. Application forms can be obtained from the TV College Refi Jos or at any NTA zonal centers nationwide on payment of a no-refundable fee of 7,500 naira in bank draft in favor of NTA Television College. Completed application forms should be returned to the Office of the Academic Secretary, NTA Television College, or the Center of Purchase on or before 28th of July 2017. For further inquiries, please call 0806 980 9807 0703 660 7155. NTA Television College, training you to be the best you can be.
Introducing the new 5 Alive Pulpy Orange.
Where is the pulp? The pulp. Where is the pulp? Where is the pulp?
Taste the goodness of real orange pulp in every gulp.
Where is the pulp?
The new 5 Alive Pulpy Orange, now in your neighborhood.
I don't cover my hand from oil bunkering.
General, what you going to yarn? What did the yarn say? I don't understand though.
Because they spoil our water and our environment. And they cause our people serious harm. Militants said, you know good. Me, I not do again Sam. Because why? Change begins with me.
General, don't move!
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. The FIFA Confederations Cup Russia 2017 on Kwese Free Sports for the fan.
All right, you're welcome back. If you just joined us, it's still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, the National Defense College was formerly known as the National War College, and it's, of course, the highest military institution in the country for the training of senior officers with regards to strategies for national security. It's so far graduated some 2,000 participants who were drawn from the armed forces of Nigeria, as well as military officers from within and outside the African continent. Now, we've been joined by two guests to discuss the issues pertaining to the role of the Defense College with regard to strategizing for national security. First, we'd like to welcome the Deputy Commandant of the college, who is also the Director of Studies. That's Major General Ede Gabriel Ode. General Ode, a pleasure to have you join us on the program.
It's my pleasure, sir.
Okay, and then we also have with us another guest who's a familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria. He's the President of the National Alumni Association of the National Defense College, Brigadier General John Temlong. General Temlong, I'd like to have you join us in Abuja studios this morning.
Thanks, it's my pleasure, please.
Okay, well, very well. Let's begin with the Deputy Commandant of the National Defense College. Obviously, I would say it was War College previously, and now it's for some years it's been known as the National Defense College. But with regard to strategizing for national security, in the 25 years that we have had the National War College or National Defense College in existence, the country has passed through a series of sometimes very challenging security situations. What role has the NDC played in all of this?
Well, thank you very much. To understand the role that the National Defense College has played in national security issues can best be understood from the mission of the college. And the mission of the college is to impart knowledge as well as develop skills and expertise of senior military officers and their civilian counterparts through a firm understanding of all the factors that underpin national security. It is also to prepare them for operational and strategic level challenges both within and outside the country. Against this backdrop, we have developed capacity to actually address some of these challenges, and based on this, you can see that most of the strategic appointments held in the armed forces of Nigeria, not just only Nigeria, but outside Nigeria, are held by people, graduates of the National Defense College. So we have actually developed capacity in trying to address some of these challenges. Additionally, some of our research efforts, the outcome of our research, which are distributed to ministry, departments, and agencies, they have responsibility to also address some of these security challenges, are also contributions to issues of national security concerns. You also know that the military is also an instrument of diplomacy. So through that, peace support operations and the rest of them, we have also developed capacity in terms of that in various ways. So indeed, the National Defense College has obviously contributed to national security in this regard.
All right, General Ode. Over time, like my colleague asked, it's been a movement from the day of inception of the college till date. There are strategies to be employed in this 21st century aspect to security. How evolving has this been for the college in addressing some of these areas of newness to actually tackling security as well as national development?
Yes, as we are all aware that there is a gradual movement from issues of warfare between countries to issues of national security. So much of security concerns are internally generated in terms of asymmetric warfare and the rest of it. So there's a gradual change from issues of complete warfare to asymmetric warfare. In this regard, the curriculum of the college is developed comprehensively to address some of these issues, either in terms of asymmetric warfare or in terms of war studies. So we have packages that also address some of these issues.
Okay, well, thanks. General Temlong, of course, you are the president of the Alumni Association of the Defense College. Try to explain, for the benefit of our viewers, because some persons will likely ask the question. You deal with strategic issues at the National Defense College. There is also an Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, which is at Kuru Jos. And there are a number of universities that offer strategic studies at graduate level.
Yes.
So what is the interrelationship among all of this, and then what sets the National Defense College apart?
Well, thank you, Kingsley. To look at this, you find out, let's look at the objective of the Alumni Association itself.
is to advance the intellectual and professional heritage of the college, and then to network with other similar institutions or fellows in those regards. The National Defense College package itself is tailor-made for specific instrument of state policy. That's been the military and strategic ministries and agencies of government, MDAs. Now, in the universities, they look at it widely without having the professional background of those who are the players, bringing in their experiences to play in this in the colleges. In NIPS, as it were, it's initially the government thought that NIPS was going to fulfill what the War College or what the NDC is, but they found out that it was more tailored towards the civil aspect of strategy or governance at that level. And so you have similar institutions outside too. So the Defense College, or the War College as it were then, was established primarily to meet the challenges that are being faced by the professionals of arms to tackle serious national security challenges and prepare officers for strategic and operational level operations.
Well, General Tomlog, I mean, there's some chest beating by the Deputy Commandant of the college with regard to what the War College has, sorry, I keep saying War College, what the Defense College has achieved in 25 years.
Yeah.
What's your comment on that, particularly from amongst your members, you know, who themselves have been on the front line in seeking to tackle or prevent some of the most serious national security issues that we have had to face?
I think the Defense College has discharged its responsibility well, and it can actually beat its chest in the 25 years. An institution is as good as its alumni. If the products of that institution is not good, then it means the institution itself is not good. For that reason, I think the Defense College has produced quite a number of strategic officers, level officers, both within and outside this country, who are helping their countries and shaping national security within the region. In Nigeria here, the Chief of Defense Staff is a product of this college. We have had so many service chiefs who have been products of this college, both within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. And they have met in various international fora where they have operated together. And the spirit of camaraderie that has established here has actually helped in shaping the way they operated, not just as allies, but as brothers or as classmates that have met here and trained together at the Defense College. At the Multinational Joint Task Force in Chad too, you have that camaraderie coming in ECOWAS operations and even in UN operations. So I think the Defense College has done well. The thing is that threat is evolving every day. And the bad guys are developing new ways of asserting the good guys. And so the good guys must continue to evolve and not sleep. So, like I told you, it has evolved from a state-centric national security concern now to a human security concern, because you have non-state actors who are quite strong and they don't have boundaries. They don't have borders. They move all over the place. So they are within the people. It's asymmetric. There is no symmetry to know where there is one side, this thing. So the development is constant. And people bring their experiences from the field to bear, and research, like I told you, that have been carried out in the Defense College, and those that we, the alumni, do carry out during our national security seminars are being tailored towards helping to improve the situation in the country and outside the country.
Okay, Temlong, thank you very much. I'm glad the Alumni Association is already doing so much. And because you are as diverse as you have come to actually pass through the college recently, to former head of state General Salami Abubakar, said to have requested or suggested that the college be upgraded to university status. Realizing this objective definitely wouldn't be too difficult to do. What other things do you think the college could do in terms of its constraints and challenges to addressing the set objective and philosophy?
I think what this college could do is to synergize. You have a lot of intellectual property that I'll say of the government that is wasting out within the Alumni Association. It's not difficult to upgrade the college into university status. All that is required, in fact, the library and the facilities of the Defense College itself are more than some universities in this country. All you need is to upgrade the academic staff or the faculty and have more professors and more PhDs and the rest, because they look at, those are some of the areas, the parameters that the staff, the NUC looks at. The curriculum of the college itself, if you look at it, it goes beyond a master's program that they do offer. I think the unfortunate thing with our system is that we don't seem to measure experience of those who go into the college. In the United States, for instance, and others, is that the number of years that you have spent in service practicing on the art itself, not even, and developing yourself professionally, are being given credit hours. But by the time you go into the War College or the Defense College, as it were, National Defense University in US or the War College, you have certain number of academic hours already to your credit. And so the course is now made to fulfill the remaining hours, the credit hours that you're supposed to fulfill to get your degree programs and the rest. So I think we can borrow from them. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. It wouldn't be a problem to upgrade the Defense College into a National Defense University, but Nigeria will be better off for it. It will enhance the areas of research, because once you bring in more professors and endowed chairs, and then you have more research coming in, not even from the participants themselves, but even from the faculty.
Well, General Tom Long, thanks a lot. We're not very good yet, some people will say, with regard to endowments. Otherwise, pre-existing universities will be awash with all kinds of endowments. But let's bring it again, General Ode, into the conversation. Is it necessary to upgrade the National Defense College to a university against the background of the following? The Nigerian Army itself is already proposing to have its own university. The National Defense College, the National Defense Academy, that Nigerian Defense Academy, NDA is a degree awarding institution. Why do you need a university to be at the National Defense College?
Thank you very much. Even before the proposal for the National Defense College to transform to a National Defense University, we have already been collaborating with the University of Ibadan, and recently we entered into a collaboration with the Nigerian Defense Academy for award of a master's program. And this has been a challenge. The challenge is that if it's a university, to be easier for us to actually have the input of a degree awarding institution. And because it's not a degree awarding institution, we have our own mandate. So those universities we are talking about have their own different mission. But as a strategic institution, we also have the mandate to also research into those areas. So if it's a university, we have the capacity to actually have an in-house or inclusive arrangement for all the whatever we are supposed to do. So it's necessary that we are, transform to a university.
What are the current challenges of the college?
Well, the current challenge of the college, just like any other institution, the institution has to do with the issues of trying to get whatever we can. Take, for instance, we are still at a temporary site, and we are supposed to move to the permanent site. A lot of effort has been put into developing the permanent site, and it is hoped that maybe sooner than later we'll be able to move to that place. And when we do, issues of accommodation and all the other facilities will obviously be addressed. And then just like the president of the alumni said, the issue of the library could also be improved upon. A lot of effort is being put, but this is among other challenges that also the country has to do with. But as much as possible, much is being done to improve some of those challenges.
Do you have timelines for the movement from your temporary site, which is a walking distance from where we are now, by the way, to you're supposed to be located outside the city, we understand?
Yes, sir. The timeline, it is a function of the funds that are released. Funds are being released. Funds are being released when they are available. So, like I said, a lot of effort is being put into play as soon as that is ready. But I cannot say specifically at what time that could be done, because it's based on the...
How much effort is the college pushing out to its alumnus? Because I know for most schools, they actually reach out to alumnus, the alumni members, to actually see, okay, coming back to put back to a place where actually helps shape you. Is the alumnus actually looking that direction too? Well, we know this is a national institution, no doubt.
Well, as at now, a lot of collaboration has been going on with the alumni, because there are a lot of seminars and others they organize with the college at various levels. So they have been collaborating with us, but in terms of funding, perhaps those could be considered on the long run.
But General Temlong, what is the feedback with regard to other nationals who are also alumni of the National Defense College? We know that a number of them have come from within Africa, Zimbabwe, and elsewhere around the world other than Africa. What is the feedback in terms of their performance?
I think the feedback has been excellent, graded A, because in almost all the countries you find out that the products of ADC have been in the highest echelon of their services. And it has actually helped in defense diplomacy for Nigeria too, because we're always in contact, and we hope that in the future we'll bring them more here to spend more time during our regular seminars, and for us to have better interaction. But I believe that the countries are even asking for more spaces. In fact, we have participants from India now, we've heard from France and outside Africa, not even just Africa itself. So it tells you how highly valued the products of this institution is.
All right, General Ode, I want to add to that. In addition to that, this request you just indicated, even coming from outside the country, how much of interest from our own professionals here, beyond the people in the uniform anyway, at least to actually address the issue of national development? How much of those requests are we getting?
Yes, just like you said, recently during our world study tour, I was in Zambia, and during that period we met some of their service chiefs, and many of them paid glowing tribute to what the Nigerian National Defense College is doing. I can tell you now that the commander of the Nigerian Air Force at Livingstone is a graduate of the National Defense College. This morning, somebody texted me and told me that the commandant of the Armed Forces Commander and Staff College of Teshi, Ghana, is a graduate of course 21 in this place. And there are so many of them, so the outcome has been very, very impressive. And from also what he said about individuals also wanting to come and join. Many countries have applied, and even the next course, which is going to assemble sometimes in September, South Africa has actually requested to also join, and I think that has been granted.
What's the duration of training?
It's 11 months, 11 months, a period of 11 months.
Full months.
11 full months.
Is there, again, in the context of what one of the topic we discussed before you gentlemen came in, has to do with kidnapping, and the fact that you have all kinds of shifting criminal industries at the local level, and then internal tensions that often come about. In terms of warfare, there are projections that look, the nature of warfare has altered. Is the Defense College also altering its curriculum in this regard?
Well, they're not necessarily altering any curriculum, but the fact is that there are non-military aspects of national security, and these are some of the issues of kidnapping and the rest of them. But even then, while you are trying to address in security in other ways, you will also do into detailed research in finding solutions to some of these problems. And we've been contacted several times to actually make our own proposals through effective research, which we have passed also to relevant ministers and the rest to also address them. So our curriculum is quite comprehensive to be able to address some of these issues through research. Yes.
All right, thank you very much for
That's from our sports crew.
All right, thanks for joining us here.
Plateau United lost 1-2 to Abia Warriors in the FPFL contest in Umuahia on Sunday, but still stayed top of the log. Elkenemi Warriors were the biggest gainers of the day as they move up 4 places on the log to second after a 2-0 win over Remo Stars in Maiduguri. Aqua United were also 2-0 winners on Sunday as they overpowered Castina United at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyu, while Nasarawa United pipped Eyimba International 1-0 in Lafia. Plateau United maintained their leadership on the log, 5 points away from MFM, while Sunshine Stars eased their relegation worries with a 2-1 win over Gombe United in Akure. FC Ifeanyi dropped valuable points at home to Wiki Tourist as they draw 0-0 in Nnewi with the Bauchi club, who are hovering just above the drop zone.
At least 1 person has been confirmed dead and 10 people injured after a man drove a van into worshippers near a North London mosque in the early hours of today. A 48-year-old man has been arrested. Prime Minister Theresa May said police were treating it as a potential terrorist attack. For more details of this, as well as that news, here is Patricia Isamiluba.
Hello and welcome to the start of another week on the foreign scene. Let's begin with last week's fire incident that engulfed the Grenfell Tower in West London, where we have reports that a total of 58 people are missing or presumed dead, according to police report. The fire, as explained by the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, was a preventable incident caused by years of neglect by the local council and successive governments. Speaking after attending a local church service in memory of the victims, he said the fire was a national disaster that requires a national response. Kensington Council said it will fully cooperate with the public inquiry, but the council, however, has been widely criticized for its handling of the disaster, with residents complaining that officials had provided little support or information to them. Meanwhile, a write-up on Sunday by Mr. Khan suggested high-rise tower blocks dating from 1960s and 1970s could be turned down on the wake of the fire, which he said may well be the defining outcome of this tragedy. Earlier, Prime Minister Theresa May admitted support for families in the initial hours was not good enough. And elsewhere, a forest fire in Portugal has claimed at least 62 lives, including 4 children, says the report. The death toll could rise further as many people are said to be missing. 3 days of national mourning has been declared, which started since Sunday. And that's about it for now on the foreign scene. More developments will come your way as the day progresses. Do have a great working week.
Yes, thank you very much there. Patricia Samuel, blessing. We just said that we're having too many fire incidents around the world. There was something happened in London, and then now
now again in London. Yes, well, we'll get to see more details.
More details. Those are pretty sad developments. Let's move on now to arts and entertainment, and just to also advise our viewers that the report contains flash photography.
Hello and thanks for joining us on Arts and Entertainment. For less than 3 decades, the Nigerian movie industry